just before you came on, the Treasury Department really shockingly now naming China currency manipulator. We were not expecting this.
No.
So what's next? I mean, in your notes, you say the black swan would be escalation of U.S.-China trade war. So it's already happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this currency manipulator label is probably another form of escalation here. Clearly, the Chinese are not going to react well to this, especially right after they said just this morning that they are not using the currency as a tool in this trade war. So I think, generally speaking, what we're watching for is, one, whether this 10% tariff goes through, and two, whether or not this has an impact on the U.S. economy. Is this going to be a systemic risk? Otherwise, what we're looking at here is maybe a 5 to 10% correction in the markets. We're already down about 6% in the S&P. If we can get through some data that shows us this will not impact the consumer, that the U.S. is not going to go into recession, perhaps we're looking at a run-of-the-mill correction. If not, if we are getting into more systemic risk, potential recession is closer than we think, then we're looking at something a little bit more severe here.
How justified are the moves in the Chinese yuan, especially given that the tariffs have been announced? I mean, when you apply tariffs on a country, you weaken their currency because their terms of trade have worsened.
Yeah, generally speaking, that is the natural path of a currency. What we saw this morning and last night was that move above 7 was really crossing a line in the sand that a lot of investors had been looking for some time. So that was kind of, what we were looking at more optically here. What we're seeing now is a reaction from both sides. One saying that we were not interfering, the U.S. claiming that they were interfering, but clearly, the currency has been on top of mind of the U.S. administration and President Trump. So he wants, and perhaps he got to some extent, the dollar to soften as well. That, helps our exporters, helps our consumer to some extent as well. So I think this will be key in the trade war going forward.
Mona, if I can just float a rather odd idea out to you, perhaps this labeling of China as a currency manipulator is a tad backwards, because all they've really done is step back and let the market do its job. Have they just stopped being a currency manipulator?
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point. I mean, if we're going to impose a 10% tariff, perhaps a 10% decline in China's currency is the natural market reaction. So, there is a camp that will probably tell you China has not interfered here. This is a natural market reaction to what's happening because of the U.S. Aggravation of this trade war. So I think there is a camp that will say, you know what, this is natural market reaction. If we go to 25%, perhaps we get a more, severe reaction in the yuan. There's certainly a case for that, I think, as, free markets unwind here.